from Transparency International Zambia. A big hand for him. Mr. Raymond Mutale is a Programs Manager at Transparency International Zambia and a seasoned monitoring, evaluation, and knowledge management specialist. Up next, I'll invite Matluli Melissa, co-founder of Conservation Advocates Zambia. A big hand for him. Matluli Melissa is the co-founder of Conservation Advocates Zambia and an amazing grassroots organization dedicated to environmental protection. All right, that's our panel for today. Let's give them a hand as they sit there. Thank you so much. All right. So last week, actually this week, the Finnish embassy, well, had some findings from a Finnish company called EPSE that produced results that from the spillage that had happened at the Mwambishi River-Site, well, it was discovered that there are 24 heavy metals, and 16 of these actually exceed the limits of the World Health Organization. That's very, very alarming. And of these metals, we have uranium, zinc, lead, arsenic, and many more. Very, very alarming. So, today we sit and discuss the fate of our country, of the next generation, and pretty much our fate as Africa and Zambia as a country. We will start off with our panel of discussion. For each question, each one of us can actually participate and pick the question, but we'll only have, I think, 5 minutes for each question, so let's be as brief as we can. And thereafter, we'll then take questions from the audience and our audience online as well. So if we're ready to start, let me just see a thumbs up. Okay, there we go. All right, so our question number 1. There we go. All right. So I think this time in juncture, we'll give time to the collision to just give a statement, and we'll be ready to start our session and discussion for the day.
Morning once again, everyone. I hope I'm audible. Am I?
No.
Okay. Thank you. So I have the privilege and honor of presenting the statement on behalf of the coalition. On the 18th day of February 2025, Zambia witnessed a catastrophic environmental disaster when a tailings dam operated by Sino Metals Zambia Limited in Mwambishi and the Copperbelt province failed and released over 50 million liters of acidic effluent into the Mwambishi stream, which is a tributary of the Kafue River. This was followed by another toxic incident on the 1st of March 2025, when Rongjing Mining Limited, also operating in the Copperbelt province, discharged substantial volumes of acid-laden waste into the aquatic environment, compounding the ongoing public health and ecological emergency in that area. These twin toxic events have placed tens of thousands, if not millions, of Zambians at grave risk. The Zambia Environmental Justice Coalition, comprising leading civil society organizations and environmental defenders, expresses its grave concern over the scale of this toxic spill and its ongoing impact on the affected communities. We reiterate our continued commitment to constructively engage with the government of the Republic of Zambia to ensure a just, transparent, and rights-based national response. Our concern as a coalition is heightened by the recent findings from an independent testing exercise, which were published by the Embassy of Finland on the 30th day of June 2025. This results from independent water quality analysis conducted on samples obtained at 3 sites, namely the tailings dam site in Mwambishi, the Mwambishi stream, which is approximately 17 kilometers from the point of the bridge, and also from the Kafue River near Pongwe, approximately 100 kilometers from the point of the bridge. The results confirmed the presence of 24 heavy metals, which included lead, arsenic, cadmium, chromium, cobalt, and uranium. And at least 16 of these heavy metals were detected at levels far exceeding the World Health Organization's safety threshold. Communities such as Luela, Kalusale, and many others downstream face long-term exposure to highly toxic substances, risking or raising the risk of cancer, developmental disorders, organ damage, and other devastating effects on agriculture and water security. The United States Embassy in Lusaka, in its advisory issued on the 12th of June 2025, cautioned its nationals against consumption or use of water or aquatic life from the affected zones due to this confirmed heavy metal poisoning. This, along with other advisories from other diplomatic missions, validate the grave warnings already raised by local experts, CSOs, and the communities themselves. These events, ladies and gentlemen, represent not just environmental concerns, but a violation of fundamental human rights and constitutional obligations. Section 4, subsection 1 of the Environmental Management Act, number 12 of 2011, guarantees every person in Zambia a right to a clean, safe, and healthy environment. Articles 255 and Article 257 of the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia, Amendment Act number 2 of 2016, impose a clear duty on the state to promote sustainable environmental management and to hold polluters accountable. We wish to remind both the government and the responsible mining entities that the polluter pays principle under Section 6D of the Environmental Management Act, as read with Article 255B of the Constitution, is not merely aspirational, but it is binding. This principle obligates entities responsible for polluting the environment to bear the full cost of environmental restoration and to compensate the affected communities. We recognize the complexity of responding to an incident of this scale, and we do acknowledge the official stance taken by the two mining companies to accept responsibility and to offer to compensate the affected communities. However, the magnitude of this disaster, as now verified through scientific data and diplomatic advisories, demands a comprehensive reassessment of all proposed compensation in consultation with the affected communities. It is our considered view that any compensation package arrived at without the active participation of the affected communities through a transparent process is null and void and is bereft of any legal or moral legitimacy. The coalition maintains that adequate compensation must account for intergenerational harm, including long-term health effects, loss of livelihoods, ecosystem collapse, and water insecurity. To this end, we therefore urge the government to implement bold, decisive, and transparent measures to hold the polluting mining companies fully accountable in the pursuit of restoration, fairness, and long-term national resilience to the fullest extent. The government must avoid a repeat of the Kafue tragedy, whose devastating effects are still ravaging communities to this day. We also demand full accountability and radical transparency from all responsible parties, including government regulators and the mining companies. This includes public disclosure of environmental assessments, clear timelines for restitution, community-led monitoring processes, and legally binding commitments to long-term environmental and health rehabilitation. Accountability must not only be retrospective, but forward-looking, ensuring that justice is served and such a catastrophe is never repeated. The Zambia Environmental Management Agency, the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, and other competent authorities must take urgent action to halt this continued environmental disaster, including full public disclosure of environmental and health assessments, medical screening of affected community members, and the immediate deployment of heavy metal decontamination and containment strategies before the next rainy season. In the spirit of constructive engagement and in line with our constitutional mandate as citizens and civil society actors, the coalition formally requests an urgent meeting with relevant government authorities, including the Ministry of Green Economy and Environment, ZEMA, the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit. The purpose would be to discuss immediate responsive measures, community involvement in remediation processes, and to present citizen-driven proposals for long-term environmental governance reforms. We believe that inclusive dialogue is essential to rebuilding public trust and ensuring that justice, recovery, and accountability are not delayed or denied. Furthermore, we urge the government to 1. Reassess and renegotiate all, if any, compensation agreements with the full involvement of affected communities to ensure intergenerational justice and livelihood restoration. 2. To enforce immediate compliant audits and initiate criminal and civil proceedings where negligence or regulatory failure is established. This is pursuant to sections 117 up to 122 of the Environmental Management Act. Third, to mandate the adoption of modern tailings management systems in all mining operations, including lined storage facilities and geochemical monitoring. The regulatory framework must be updated to suit modern standards. 4, we ask the government to declare the impacted zones as environmentally protected areas in order to prevent further exploitation and safeguard the little remaining biodiversity. 5, to convene an emergency session of Parliament to address environmental governance failures and to propose a strengthened legal framework for environmental disasters. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a defining moment in Zambia's environmental governance. We can no longer afford regulatory lethargy, nor the capture of oversight institutions or bodies. The Constitution or the constitutional framework in this country demands that development must not come at the cost of life and dignity. The communities in Luela, in Kalusale, and beyond deserve not just sympathy, but justice, clean water, and long-term protection. The coalition remains committed to working with the government, with affected communities, and all stakeholders to chart a scientifically informed and constitutionally sound response that prioritizes public health, community dignity, and environmental protection. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
All right. With that, we now dive into our panel discussion. And I will first start with Mr. Peter Nande. Mulisha Nkwai. Yeah, all right. So, Jishivik,